attitude. Like some of the comments I get on my Twitter that say, well, I tried to make money and I lost, so I'm never going to do that again. Well, that's a loser. How many times have I failed? You guys have seen me, like you guys have been around me for years. I get screwed and blued and tattooed just like everybody else. But each crash makes me stronger, anti-fragile.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. And everybody has that in them. Even if they didn't go to a great school, we all have a spirit. We all have a soul. We all have dreams. We all have desires. But it takes time. It's like Tiger Woods didn't become the greatest golfer on earth taking one golf lesson. You know what I mean? He lost. He's gone down. He's gone up. He's the greatest athlete I know. But he took his back out. His wife divorced him, and his wife took a 8-iron to his SUV. He's publicly humiliated. He can't play golf, but he still comes back and wins the Masters again.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. We all have that in us, except if we have a bad attitude in our mind. So some of those comments I've seen on my Twitter site is, well, I'm not interested in money. Well, your host. Those few words, I'm not interested in money, or I don't want to be rich, screws you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And Robert, one thing that you've always told us is to have our mission in mind, right? And I think that's when you really have control over your life, because if you're selling yourself to your salary or to your paycheck, then you've already sold yourself. But if you always have your mission in mind, like you've mentioned to us so many times, and I see you live, breathe, and eat this mission, that's when you end up like yourself, not needing money.
Well, it's not only that. If they took Rich Dad away and all my money away, I wouldn't change a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd still be doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, if they lose their job, they change jobs. But this is my job. This is my mission. And that's why I went to military school versus university. And I went to the Marine Corps versus the Peace Corps. You know what I mean? It's a different being. So everybody has that spirit inside of them. It's a lot of times, especially when times are good, you don't have to call on your spirit. You just cruise. You get a job, you can make some money. But right now, when you're sitting at home, is a good time to reevaluate life. So if I could show you this is book number 2 in the Rich Dad series. It's E stands for employee, S, B, and I. E is employee. That little voice in your head is saying, I'm looking for a good, nice, safe, secure job with benefits. If you don't change those thoughts, you stay here. Nothing wrong with it, except in the future. Because as you know, technology or AI and all this stuff is going to make these guys less and less important. Or you can be an S and you can say, well, if you don't want it done right, do it by yourself. So the definition of an S is they're like a doctor. They can perform their job on their own. Or an accountant can do their job on their own. Or a tech person can do their job, or an auto mechanic can do it. There's nothing wrong with it. But it limits them to this, and these guys pay the highest of all taxes. So most people, when they say, I want to start a business, they're saying, I want to start a business, they go here. So, I started a business. The trouble with this side is they're working for money, and money is taxed. So as long as I don't have a job, I'm not taxed. I think it's pretty funny, personally. But anyway, and B is big business. That's Bezos and Gates and Zuckerberg. And I is insider. These guys are outside investors, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETF. I just wanted to be an insider. So if you're sitting at home right now, be thinking, what do I have to do to make these changes? Like I've said all the time, you can be here and you can be here. You can be in more than one place. So when I'm sitting around talking, I'm actually all for. Sometimes I'm working for my own company. I'm an employee of my own company. Right now I'm working on a project, so I'm self-employed. I'm doing it by myself. As an investor, I'm always investing in big businesses. I don't invest in small businesses. I made too many mistakes. There's 2 kinds of entrepreneurs, small and smart. So I invest in smart entrepreneurs, not small entrepreneurs. A small entrepreneur doesn't have a bookkeeper. That's the first thing. They have QuickBooks or Quicken, or whatever they have, or they have LegalZoom. I'm out. They want to do it on their own. On this side, I can't do it on my own. And in the world today, these guys are Shark Tank guys, Mark Cuban and all that. So their mindset is different, but they also have the experience to be here. They're competent. I can say, well, I want to be here, but I wasn't competent for years. Now I'm pretty competent because I have a team. It took years to get here.
Yeah.
My best friend and I was born on April 8th. He was born on April 9th. And we had no money. And he just sold his business for $1.8 billion. I'm going, so we had a contest because I beat him to $1 million, but he beat me to $1 billion. So I can hear some people, well, what's so important about money? Nothing. It's my friend is important. My friend and I kick butt together. We really love each other. Been friends for almost 50 years now. And we push each other along. We've gone up and we've gone down. We've had wins. We've had losses. We've had horrible experiences happen to us.
Yeah.
But I beat him to $1 million and he beat me to $1 billion. But that's why he's my friend. So, and I can hear the chatter. Well, you're just so evil because, interested in money and all that. So, well, screw you. Who's your friend? Some loser? Who are you hanging out with? Yeah. That's really all it is this game. I'll tell you a quick story is that he and I started the nylon and Velcro surfer wall together. And I lost $850,000. I thought it was the biggest loss of my life. And I was like 27 years old. And I felt so bad, all my investors had lost money and all this because Stanley, my accountant, ran off with the money. So I've been screwed by accountants all the time. You think they're honest people? No, they're crooks. Got to find a good one. But anyway, I was bleeding. I was hemorrhaging spiritually. My spirit was bleeding out of me. My body was there, my blood was there, my brain was there, but my spirit was draining out. So I went to Chicago trying to make more money because Stanley ran off with the money. So I'm lying in bed at the Howard Johnson's on Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, bleeding, spirit draining. And my friend Larry was on Broadway because his brother was John Lennon in Beatlemania, a very talented family.
Yeah.
So I called Larry and I couldn't even speak. I was just my spirit was gone. I said, Larry. He said, what? He says, I couldn't even raise my voice. He said, he thought it was a pervert breathing in the phone or something, He goes, what the hell's wrong with you? I said, Larry, I can't go any further. I can't raise any more money. I'm failed. I've lost everything. So he said, where are you? And so I gave him the address in Chicago because he was on Broadway in New York. He says, you stay right there. I'll be right over. So maybe about 3 or 4 hours later, he heard a knock on my door at the Howard Johnson's. He opens the door and he goes, so tell me what's wrong with you. So Larry, I really fucked up. $850,000. I can't pay it back. I've lost everything. I'm a big shame, a disgrace. I'm all this. He says, oh, you poor thing. So I'm in the line there. He says, well, let me help you. He turns around and he kicked me with all his might. Just kicked me. It hurt. He kicked me out of bed. He says, now get the F up and get back to work. You stupid son of a, you lazy. I said, but I don't care. He says, you lost the money. You can make it back. And he's the guy that sold his business for $1.8 billion. Wow. That's a friend. I don't know who your friends are, but if they don't kick you in the butt, then they're not a friend. They're probably holding you back.
Yeah.
This is one of the most important lessons I can pass on. And so we just kept going. So all you losers out there going, oh, I tried to make money, but I lost and all that. You're a loser. Do it again. So it turned out to be being anti-fragile, which comes from Nassim Taleb, anti-fragile. There's fragile, which is snowflakes and what our colleges are putting out today, snowflakes.
Yeah.
And you tap them and they're like a champagne flute. They shatter and never come back. They can't have trigger events. Then you have robust, which is like a rock. And a lot of people are rocks today. You pound on them, nothing changes. But an anti-fragile person, when something bad happens, they come back stronger. So losing $850,000 was the best thing that ever happened to me because I couldn't get a job and pay it back. Back then, I think 30,000 was high salary. To pay back $850,000, I had to use my brain again and figure out how am I going to make enough money to pay that money back. So the loss was the blessing. And what happened after that, I went into rock and roll. I worked for Duran Duran, Police, Van Halen, Boy George, doing a similar thing, but using the losses and the experience I gained from the wallet business, and I rolled it into the next venture. And that's how I paid off my money.
Robert, and something I love